Right now on Spectrum Bay News 9.
I come to work in the mornings and I'm already 10 steps behind.
Now that classes are back in session, teachers are trying to get used to teaching online and in person at the same time. And they say it is overwhelming. Plus, relief is on the way for some struggling families in our state. Those enrolled in the federal Lost Wages program through the state should see their paychecks this week. And President Donald Trump returns to the Sunshine State to sign off on protecting Florida's coast from oil drilling. New tonight, Joe Biden reacts to that move, calling it a political ploy just ahead of the election. Good to have you with us tonight, everyone. I'm Holly Gregory. Let's start things off now at 9:59 with your weather on the 9's forecast. Meteorologist Brian McClure in the Weather Center for us tonight. And we get so many great pictures from our viewers, Brian. And if you had like a top 5 of the year, you might have a good contender tonight. That was really pretty amazing.
Yeah, really cool. You're right, Holly. I mean, we get so many in. And tonight, the timing was just right. The sun had just set. And it wasn't too dark, and you got this really neat shelf cloud that was rumbling past Treasure Island. Cindy sent this one in, and it was headed right out towards the Gulf. Those were the thunderstorms that I was covering earlier when they were moving out towards the Gulf. Now, what's left over now is just kind of residual showers and storms. To tell you the truth, there's really not even much lightning left over. A lot of that has shifted offshore. So this is how we pick up our beneficial rains. When you get those afternoon to evening storms, but then you get the residual rains left over, and that's what's out there now. That'll go away. And obviously we'll clear out overnight, so it'll be quiet by morning. We'll talk about tomorrow's forecast and take you all the way into the weekend coming up at 10:09.
The school year has barely begun, but teachers in the Pinellas School District say they are overwhelmed with the challenge of teaching in-person and virtual classes simultaneously. Spectrum Bay News 9 reporter Sarah Blazona sat in on tonight's school board meeting where that issue was discussed. In response to a number of parents' concerns about transparency, the school district of Manatee County is now releasing daily totals for not only confirmed COVID cases, but also how many students in each school have to quarantine as a result of those cases. The information will be posted daily on the school district's website and can be sorted by school and day. New information tonight, the Lakeland High football program will be suspended for the next 2 weeks due to a case of coronavirus. The first 2 games of the season have been canceled, and officials say it's unlikely the games will be rescheduled. The team can resume normal practices on September 22nd. We're keeping all our stories about school impacts on our Back to School page at baynews9.com. We've got the latest updates on how districts are handling the pandemic, as well as an up-to-date count of which schools have confirmed cases of the virus. That is all at baynews9.com/backtoschool. You will have to wear a face covering for at least another month in Lakeland. The City Commission voted today to extend that requirement until October 5th. Commissioners heard from several health officials, including a doctor from Lakeland Regional Health, who says that he believes the mask ordinance is responsible for the decline in COVID cases over the last 2 months. Beyond the bay now, a Palm Bay chemical plant was rocked by an explosion this morning. It happened at Far Chemical just before 11 o'clock. Officials say the explosion involved 30 to 40 barrels of isopropyl alcohol-based solution. The fire has been extinguished, and hazmat teams say that the plume and debris field are not toxic. It is a rare issue that unites both Democrats and Republicans in this state, the opposition to oil drilling off our coast. And today, President Donald Trump came to Florida to extend a moratorium on drilling off of the coast of Florida. This extension goes far beyond just the Gulf of Mexico. Spectrum Bay News 9's Josh Rojas joins us now from St. Petersburg. Before we head back to the Weather Center tonight, I want to take a look at this first. This is parts of Colorado. They are seeing snow just one day after temps were in the 90s there. So some parts of Colorado are down in the 30s, and that is a 60-degree drop in just 24 hours. And the cold isn't expected to last long, though. The summer-like weather is expected to return again this weekend. Wow. Meteorologist Brian McClure joins us again live. And Brian, you were telling us last week that was going to happen in Colorado, but that's crazy to go from the 90s to snow.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't believe meteorologists when we say crazy things like that. You know, like, yeah, right, there's no way it can happen. But
I never doubted.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, if anybody's ever lived in Colorado, though, that wouldn't surprise them.
Really?
Yeah, because of all places in this country, Colorado on the eastern side of the Rockies right there, they get crazy wild swings in weather. So that's actually kind of common out there.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that. See?
Yeah. Yeah. So, just next time you ask anybody that has lived in Denver, say, so have you ever seen where it goes from 90 to snow? And they'll be like, yeah, I've seen that a few times. And it gets so annoying to those folks out there. But yeah, it's kind of like saying, are we used to thunderstorms? We just eventually, you live here long enough, you just kind of get used to the wild weather that you live in. And out there, they have wild swings in weather where they can go from cold to hot, hot to cold, rain to snow, all over the place. For us, thunderstorms out there tonight. We had a lot of big thunderstorms move westward towards the Gulf. They actually had pretty good movement. So they kind of went from Hillsborough County across the bay through Pinellas County, western Manatee County. Notice those residual rains out there right now, but not what I'd call big storms anymore. This is just some moderate to heavy showers still lingering. That's how we pick up some good beneficial rains, by the way. Overnight into the morning, partly cloudy skies will dominate. Other than an isolated storm past midnight, it pretty much quiets down. Tomorrow, first half of the day, quiets, lots of sunshine. We'll heat up to around 90, 91. We'll do it again. Another round of storms tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. I think we're going to take this pattern all the way into this weekend. Not a lot of fluctuation. We'll talk more about that in the 7-day and have a lot more on the tropics coming up at 10:19.
All right, Brian, thank you. Now let's take a look at what's coming up. Spectrum Sports 360's Kenny Morales joins us now. And Kenny, Buccaneers just a few days away now from the start of their season.
Yeah, that's right, Holly. After a very long and unusual offseason, to say the least. Yeah, that's exactly right. The Bucs will kick off the Tom Brady era this Sunday. And what better way to find out just how good Tampa Bay is than with a game against one of the best teams in the NFL, the New Orleans Saints. We'll hear from head coach Bruce Arians on their Week 1 matchup coming up in just a bit.
All right, sounds good, Kenny. Thank you. We'll join you then. That's coming up in about 20 minutes on Spectrum Sports 360. But now here's another live look at Klystron 9.
Live news on the go from your team at Spectrum Bay News 9 with the new Spectrum News app. Your all-in-one destination for local news, weather forecasts, and events. The new Spectrum News app, your community connection. Learn more at SpectrumNewsApp.com. Download on the App Store or get it on Google Play.
Over the years, everybody's been in a storm, everybody's dependent on it.
A radar indicated tornado here on Klystron 9.
Klystron 9 scanning 300 miles around Tampa Bay in all directions and updating every 30 seconds. And that is so important when we have fast moving storms. That's our commitment to you. Only place you can get that live on Spectrum Bay News 9.
Here are your winning lottery numbers.
A Tampa Bay man is celebrating a family reunion nearly 70 years in the making. He and his younger brother have discovered another brother their parents had before they were born. And tonight, Spectrum Bay News 9's Trevor Pettiford was there as they all met for the first time. In California, deadly wildfires continue to burn across portions of the state. Hundreds of people have already been evacuated and airlifted, as power has been shut off to more than 170,000 homes to try and prevent even more fires. One of the fires has left dozens of people trapped in the Sierra National Forest, leading to more evacuations by Chinook helicopter. Officials are also pleading with residents to help do their part to keep things contained.
It's so important for people to do things or to stop doing things, not do things that could cause a spark.
Officials say this is one of the worst fire seasons yet. More than 2 million acres have already burned this year.
and it's actually made class a little more difficult balancing between online classes and having to go to campus.
A college senior from the University of Tampa takes on a year he never imagined, getting ready for a job market he has no idea about. I'm Virginia Johnson. Life in the time of coronavirus is coming up.
Well, we're definitely going to see a lot of showers and storms around, not just out there tonight, but again for tomorrow. This is going to be the pattern that we're in for the next few days. It's not a bad September pattern. It's actually a really good one because we've seen in past years sometimes we can actually end the rainy season in September, maybe because of some drier air, maybe because of a hurricane passing by, and then it gets really hot and dry. And that sets us up for a dry fall. So this isn't a bad pattern, even though I know it does kind of interfere with maybe some evening sports activities and the kids and all that stuff. But overall, weather-wise, this is actually a pretty good pattern. And this is going to continue for most of this week. September in the tropics, it's always busy. You know that. We live here in Florida where we know every September it's the peak of the season. So it's not a surprise that we're talking a lot about the tropics. And you're going to hear us talking a lot about the tropics. But here's the positive. Even though there's a lot going on, there's nothing that we see threatening at this time. So although we have Paulette and Renee out here in the Atlantic, and there's actually another tropical wave closer to the southeastern United States, both of these storms out here will likely be what we call recurvers and eventually drift to the north. And it's mainly because of the local wind patterns combined with the abundant moisture that we're going to see tons and tons of showers and storms. We've seen them out there tonight, but again, look at the lows. Not bad, low to mid 70s. It does help to get a lot of storms in the evening hours to help cool us down. If you are boating, most of these showers and storms that we're talking about will be over land, not out over the open waters. But 2 time periods, a little bit in the morning, and then again late in the day, you will have to maybe dodge a few scattered storms that drift towards the coast, because they will have a tendency of drifting westward. The high temperatures also are kept in check by this type of pattern. I think we'll have lower rain chances Friday, but then they'll bounce right around 60% for the weekend. So really, it's not going to fluctuate a whole lot. I think the highest rain chances will be the next 2 days, come down a little bit going into the weekend, but not a lot. We're kind of locked into this pattern for now. All right, there's a pollen forecast for the next 3 days, and there you can see levels running right about low to moderate, 4 to 4.6, somewhere right in there, and then maybe bumping up a little bit on Friday to about 6. All right, I'll be back in less than 10 minutes, but first another look at Clystron 9.
We know changes are happening. We know there's more to be done. Now, as our community rebuilds, we'll continue to support each other, caring for neighbors and family today so we can all be together tomorrow. We know none of this has been easy. Thank you, Tampa Bay. We're proud to tell your stories every day. We are One Florida. We are Spectrum Bay News 9, exclusively on Spectrum.
Florida is the perennial swing state. We decide on the thinnest of margins. Your vote here matters. At Spectrum Bay News 9, we want to empower you. We know our communities, we know the people, we know the local issues. We can be that conduit between candidate and voters to help you get informed and understand who you're voting for so that you're maximizing the power of that vote. Decision 2020 on Spectrum Bay News 9, exclusively on Spectrum. A college senior is pushing himself forward in environmental science studies as the pandemic, though, has interrupted his research opportunities. Spectrum Bay News 9's Virginia Johnson is helping people tell their stories in their own words. This is tonight's Life in the Time of Coronavirus. Over the last few months, Virginia has taken you all over the Bay Area to see how folks are dealing with life in the time of coronavirus. If you'd like to watch her previous stories, just visit baynews9.com/coronavirus.